Not so long ago, they released a book on the making of House of the Dragon, but unfortunately, it didn't have anything more than what was already circulating all over the internet. However, the book does touch upon the 3 breeds of dragons that are featured in the show. Now, in this video, we're going to explore these breeds, which are basically differentiated by the shape of their skulls and are based on real-life animals. Apart from the 3 breeds, we'll also discuss Caraxes, which is kind of an anomaly, a mutant in the dragon world, and why that is the case. So, without further ado, let's get into it, but before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means an awful lot. Thank you. Let's begin. The T-Rex dragon breed. So let's talk about the first breed of dragons, the ones inspired by T-Rexes. These dragons, like Drogon, have a skull that looks like the skull of a Tyrannosaurus Rex. If you'd notice, these are giant dragons who are big enough to intimidate other dragons, and that's saying something. Unlike the other 2 breeds of dragon who have either elongated heads or wolf-like heads, the Dino dragons have a powerful build. I mean, just looking at them is enough to say that they can move mountains. You know how just by looking at a car you can tell if it's a muscle car or not? It's kind of the same thing here. Imagine a Ford Mustang beside a Volkswagen Beetle, even a cow will be able to tell which one's a beast. Same goes for the Dino dragons. So, what's the primary purpose of these dragons? What were they bred for? They're mostly bred for combat and warfare. Because of their hardy and large build, the super strong bite force, and awesome fire-breathing ability, they can be a menace on the battlefield. You see, back in the day, dragons fought not just men, but other dragons as well, so they needed to be strong and have a good bite strength. Dragons are usually impervious to fire, but you needed something to beat down the enemy dragon, which is when the T-Rex head came to help. It can be difficult to describe dragons and their use in general terms. In other words, it would be easier to describe them by comparing them with the various kinds of horses from the Middle Ages. The best comparison we have for the Dino dragons is the destrier horses from medieval times. Although these horses weren't a breed and a type of horse, the destriers were bred from foalhood specifically for warfare and jousting. These were some of the strongest horses that had a lot of, well, horsepower, and they could also sprint for short distances. Likewise, the Dino dragons were also bred and used primarily for battle due to their strength and combat capabilities. Their robust build made them ideal for direct confrontations where physical strength and powerful attacks were indispensable. Unlike the breed of Rhaenyra's dragon, Syrax, which was also designed for speed, the Dino dragons were not essentially built for swift flights, but for brute strength and endurance in combat. Also, in contrast to the wolf skull dragons, which may function as trackers or scouts, the T-Rex dragons were frontline war machines, not suitable for roles that require agility or stealth. Yet, these were some of the most magnificent beasts in all of Westeros. As far as their physical attributes are concerned, you can pretty much imagine a dragon like Vermithor or Drogon. Now, we don't know exactly how large the dragons are. I mean, yeah, Balerion is the only dragon that died of old age, and they were pretty damn huge. So much so that it was the largest dragon in Westeros that ever lived. After Balerion's death, Vhagar took its place in terms of size. Balerion was also a Dino dragon, which goes on to say that these were among the larger and more formidable of the dragon breeds. Given their formidable nature, T-Rex dragons likely served as a symbol of martial power and dominance, so if you were riding one of these, the other dragons and dragon riders were sure to be intimidated by you. To sum it up, the T-Rex-like dragons represent the epitome of war dragons as far as the dragon breeds introduced in House of the Dragon are concerned. Their primary role is combat, where they use their powerful jaws and substantial physical strength to dominate adversaries. Unlike other breeds that might excel in speed, endurance, or stealth, the T-Rex-like dragons are straightforward war beasts bred to enhance the military capabilities of their handlers, much like the destriers who would accompany the knights in wars and jousts. The Horse Skull Dragon Breed. Now, what do we have here? Let's compare the heads of Syrax and a horse side by side. You would notice here that the skulls of these two seem pretty similar. Okay, our bad, it's pretty damn obvious since dragons like Syrax were designed after horses. However, their heads also resemble this very specific supersonic jet. Any guesses? Well, between the 70s and early 2000s, European countries used this supersonic jet called the Concorde. You can see the acute similarities between the heads of the two beautiful beasts. They're both streamlined for better aerodynamics. Now, if something has been designed after horses and supersonic jets, it can only mean one thing. It's built for speed. Yeah, horse dragons, or horskons as I like to call them, were known for being fast, and their long, narrow skulls and necks helped that cause. With that, it doesn't exactly explain Season 8 Daenerys teleporting all over the place, but I'm absolutely never gonna let that go. The creators are supposed to be careful about technicalities and little things like logic. But anyways, coming back to the horskons, okay, I hear it, that sounds silly. How about horsagon, or maybe dragors? Okay, we're gonna stick to horse skull dragons. These dragons are built for swift movement, which makes them particularly suited for long distance travel and possibly for roles that require quick relocation across vast distances. While they're not primarily combat dragons, their speed may allow them to play significant roles in battles or skirmishes where fast movement is crucial. And let's face it, at the end of the day, they are dragons, so they'll breathe fire no matter what. They could potentially serve as messengers or scouts in a military context. Compared to other dragon breeds like the T-Rex-like dragons and the wolf skull dragons, the horse skull dragons are slimmer and more aerodynamically built. Their slim, elongated skull and their body structure are indicative of their ability to cut through the air faster than other, bulkier dragon breeds, which aligns with their function for speed and swift movements. But just how practical are these creatures? Well, in a world where dragons are a blend of mystique and martial strength, owning a horse skull dragon didn't just mean that you had a fast as hell supercar, it also gave you a strategic advantage in warfare. Ravens could deliver your messages, sure, but if you had an animal that was faster than a raven and could breathe fire, all the better. So, if you had to send an urgent message or found yourself in a rapid response scenario or wanted to retreat quickly because the enemy had more dragons, someone like Cyrax could be of great help. Wars, by nature, are always dynamic. Much like football, things could change in a minute, and so a fast dragon was always welcome in Westeros. So, in conclusion, the horse skull dragons are a breed designed for exceptional speed and aerodynamics in the dragon breeds. Unlike more combat-oriented or robust T-Rex dragons or the versatile and cunning wolf skull dragons, the horse skull-like dragons excel in scenarios that require fast response and travel, but make no mistake, they're every bit as ferocious as any other dragon. It was unfortunate that Rhaenyra's Cyrax never got to do much in the Dance of Dragons and died a sad death. Wolf skull dragon breed. To be honest, we totally love these awesome animals that the dragons were based on. I mean, a T-Rex known for its ferocity, a horse majestic and swift, and a wolf, a symbol of strength, intelligence, and resilience. Awesome symbology. But that reminds us, shouldn't a wolf-like dragon belong in the north? I mean, those guys are all about wolves in winter and all that. Seems like a missed opportunity, but I mean, come on, let's try to stick to the point. So yeah, this breed is known for its wolf-like skull. Needless to say, their function in Westeros is similar to that of wolves, such as tracking or hunting, just that these guys had way more firepower than a traditional wolf. I mean, a dire wolf would probably maul you to death, but you might still have a chance against it. But against a wolf skull dragon, like Arrax or Vermax, there's just not much you can do. Again, it just breaks my heart to have the knowledge of how these two dragons died an early death. I mean, both these babies were just juvies when they died. Anyways, the wolf-like dragons have a distinctive head shape that is different from the other dragon breeds. These heads are more squat but with wide faces, which may mean that they have some enhanced sensory capabilities. As I mentioned earlier, this breed was, in all probability, used to serve primarily as trackers or hunters. Take a look at their head shape and other physiological features, and you'll see that they may aid in extensive scanning of the ground or environment, which is essential for tracking prey and scouting. Think about it. Evolutionary changes that lead to larger sense organs often help animals develop sharper or more specialized senses. For instance, owls have relatively large eyes compared to their head size. This allows them to have a larger visual field and more light gathering capacity, which is pretty important for them since they're nocturnal creatures, just like most of Gen Z. And honestly, me too, but moving on, this breed of dragons can be compared to a hunting dog as far as its ferocity and intelligence are concerned. Since hunting and tracking dogs need to be ahead of everyone else, they need to be prepared for every surprise attack. I mean, you might need to outfox a fox or scare away a bear or a wolf, so you have to trust in your teeth, claws, and brain, or else it wouldn't take long for the hunter to become the hunted. So, wolf-like dragons are capable of tracking as well as engaging with targets. Now, although these dragons have a wolf-like skull, they do share a slight similarity with the dino dragons. I'm talking about their physical build. So, while the dino dragons are like super bulky and huge, these wolf guys have a similar structure, but they're comparatively smaller and leaner, which allows them agility and speed, which in turn helps them in all the tracking and hunting that they love to do. To be honest, so much dragon talk makes me want to have a dragon of my own. Speaking of owning a dragon, there's one particular dragon that should be an absolute dream for any dragon rider, and I'm referring to Caraxes, the one owned by Daemon Targaryen. The Curious Case of Caraxes. Now, this dragon's a little peculiar because it doesn't look anything like what we've seen previously in Westeros. Initially, Caraxes was used as a template for the Wolf Skull dragons. However, it was later clarified that Caraxes is a unique or mutated dragon and shouldn't be considered a standard representation of the breed. The dragon exhibits features like unusually hot flames and a more elongated serpentine body, which are not typical for the breed. The longer neck of Caraxes might be the reason why its flames are so freaking hot. I mean, we saw Vhagar's flames do what they do to Laena, but that wasn't as hot as the flames of Caraxes, which simply evaporate you. Now, it is believed that the Valyrians experimented with two different creatures to create dragons. In fact, they presumably did more sinister things like blood magic and the like. Some theories suggest that they even mated with dragons, something that we'll explore in another one of our videos. So, coming back to the creation of dragons, it's believed that the Valyrians blended the wyverns with fireworms. The wyverns were basically pterodactyl-like creatures, and the fireworms are basically huge fire-breathing worms with small limbs. In the case of regular dragons, the ratio between the two is nearly 2/3 wyvern and 1/3 fireworm. However, in the case of Caraxes, there's more fireworm than wyvern, hence the elongated shape of Daemon's dragon. What do we know about the dragons of Westeros? Unlike your typical 6-limbed mythical beasts, Martin's dragons only have 4 limbs, 2 legs and 2 wings, because no real animal in nature has ever rocked the 4 legs plus 2 wings combo. Pretty cool, huh? Now, these dragons are no joke. They come equipped with some serious hardware: strong jaws, razor-sharp teeth, and claws that would tear through anything. Their leathery wings stretch wide, and they've got long necks and tails perfect for a dramatic swoop. Plus, they sport some gnarly horns on their head. When they hatch, they're about the size of a cute little kitten, but don't let that fool you. If you've got enough grub and the freedom to roam, they never stop growing. Dragons locked up, like those poor souls in the dragon pit, don't get nearly as big as their free-flying cousins. For instance, take the Cannibal, a wild dragon from Dragonstone. Even though it's been around forever, it's still smaller than beasts like Vhagar and Vermithor. Vermithor, on the other hand, was bigger than Dreamfire, despite being a few years younger. And let's not forget Balerion, the OG giant who could gulp down an entire mammoth or auroch in one go. A black dragon isn't necessarily broody, and a red one isn't automatically hot-headed. Speaking of black, did you know that their bones are jet black because of their high iron content? Those polished dragon skulls look like shimmering onyx, and their teeth, they're like deadly black diamonds. The Westerosi dragons are fire-made flesh. They radiate such intense heat that they steam on cold nights. Imagine a creature so hot that even its blood smokes when wounded. Smoke often billows from the mouths and nostrils, and when they unleash their dragon flame, it's like a furnace exploding from their gullet. These beasts are hardcore carnivores, munching on meat and fish, and they even cook their food with their own fiery breath before chowing down. Talk about a built-in barbecue. They also have a bit of a savage side, occasionally engaging in opportunistic cannibalism. Now let's talk about the armor. Dragon scales are mostly fireproof, protecting the vulnerable flesh underneath. As they age, these scales only get thicker and tougher, making older dragons all but invincible to fire. However, they can still be hurt by other dragons' flames. Just take a look at poor Moondancer, who got her eyes burned out by sunfire during the Dance of the Dragons. And speaking of fire, the older the dragon, the hotter the flame. A baby dragon's fire might light up some straw, but dragons like Balerion and Vhagar could melt steel and stone with their fiery breath. Dragons aren't just fire-breathing lizards, they're deeply connected to the magic of the world. After the last dragon died in 153 AC, summers got shorter, winters became harsher, and magical spells lost their oomph. Coincidence? We think not. Unfortunately, that's all we've got for you on dragon breeds for this time, but stick around for more marvelous content, especially if you're a fan of House of the Dragon. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.